One of my favorite hobbies is investing and all the research and analysis that is involved when deciding where to smartly invest your hard earned money. Netflix was the first corporation that I invested in 2002 with my speculative fund. This is the fund of money that I had saved for companies that were high speculation and that I was willing to lose all that I had invested in. Step number one in deciding on what company to invest in, it's always a good idea to invest in a company that you're interested in and that you know a little bit about. Conduct your proper due diligence on the company you're interested in. If you can locate and read a recent analyst report on the company, this is highly beneficial. Unfortunately, many of the analyst reports that are available for free on the internet are a quarter or two old, but you can go to www.sec.gov and you'll be able to access all the recent SEC filings on your company for free. This includes all the 10Ks, 10Qs, 8Ks, proxy statements, and all the Sarbanes-Oxley Section 16 filings, which are very important. Also, and probably most important, decide what level of speculation you feel like you want to invest in. If you want to invest in high risk, you could invest in a biotech company that has no products on the market yet. Medium risk might be a up and coming pharmaceutical company. Low risk would be something like General Electric, or no risk would be a US Treasury bond. How should I invest? Probably the most important question you must answer for yourself is how much money do you want to invest in this one company, and at what risk level do you believe the company is? The higher the risk level, the greater the chance you will lose some or all of your investment, but also the greater the chance you will have of making a higher return on your initial investment. Netflix. I decided to invest in Netflix in 2003, about a year after it had its IPO. The following are thinking points and examples of due diligence that I conducted over the years as I continued to dollar cost average my investment in Netflix. To this day, I still have money withdrawn from my paycheck and invested in Netflix stock each month. Dollar cost averaging is a great way to flatten out your overall average cost, as it allows you to make purchases at low points and high points of the stock price and average these points in with all your other purchase prices. Netflix's growth timeline. Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph co-founded Netflix in 1997. Netflix IPO'd in 2002. It had its 4.2 million subscribers by 2005. In 2008, Netflix partnered with Xbox and Blu-ray disc players. Netflix became available to stream on iPhone and other devices in 2010. In 2012, Netflix begins international integration. In 2014, Netflix launches original content, receives 7 Emmy nominations, and wins Best Director for House of Cards. And in 2016, where we currently are, Netflix hits 75 million worldwide subscribers. Here's Team Netflix. The engineer, Neil Hunt, is the chief product officer. The data whiz behind Amazon's cloud system that Netflix uses is Adrian Cockcroft. The buyer and chief content officer is Ted Sarandos, and creative, who's behind Netflix's independent screenwriting, House of Cards, and all their other independent TV shows and movies. He's responsible for this aspect of the company. Reasons for my initial investment in Netflix. First to market, building the DVD by mail system, original business model, builds long-term competitive advantage, largest customer base, largest selection, data asset. By 2005, Netflix had 4.2 million subscribers. By 2016, they had 75 million worldwide subscribers. In 2002, Netflix IPO'd. This was my entry point into the Netflix stock. From this point forward, I continued to dollar cost average the same amount of money at the end of each month to this very day. Competitors know now business model. Walmart, Blockbuster, they all know what Netflix is doing and are trying to mimic it. This gave me further confidence that Netflix was developing the future of how consumers will watch movies and television shows from their TVs, mobile devices, and more. The switch to streaming video was huge for Netflix. In 2008, limited streaming existed. Content acquisition and availability, license issues, and costs made it very difficult. Delivering the video, not having the right broadband, not having the right partnerships, it was very tough. But 2010, the switch to streaming video began, and partnerships started to become clear and the right way for the development of disseminating video. Netflix was at the top of the list of companies that were doing this. Xbox started to get involved, Blu-ray disc players were involved. The switch to streaming is in full effect now, and many people are exchanging their cable subscriptions for Netflix accounts as Netflix begins to produce sitcoms and movies underneath the Netflix Productions moniker. Right now, they have two services under the same business plan. In 2010, though, they announced that they were going to split into two companies, the Netflix DVD subscription and the Netflix streaming. This was a very smart decision. Being the first company in this space, Netflix had enormous fixed costs for each country they were entering, and this created a few quarters where they missed their numbers and had huge declines in their stock price. But I continued to dollar cost average during these times, which flattens out my overall cost per share, so the downfalls in price don't hurt as much. Everyone now is starting to switch to streaming video. Its increased competition leads to high fixed costs, lack of first mover advantage. All questions we continue to ask ourselves as we continue to invest in Netflix shares. Our Netflix return on investment. Short-term viability, long-term viability. High switching costs are in the long-term viability. People are committed to original content. Can Netflix continue sustainable growth? Can Netflix keep competitive advantage? Who is our competition? Will they overtake us? Do they have the assets and power to overtake us? Time Warner we compete against. Launch of HBO Go. Elimination of cable subscriptions. In 2014, quarter 3, 5% of Netflix sales increased and 37% profits increased, which was a great quarter. Current competition in the space. Hulu. Subscription streaming service, HBO On Demand, Showtime On Demand, Amazon Prime On Demand. There are over 20 on-demand services available currently that directly compete with Netflix, but our first-to-market advantage has enabled us to keep the lead with 75 million worldwide subscribers. Netflix has a library of over 6,494 movies and over 1,609 TV shows. Clearly, Netflix has a much larger library of film and TV than Amazon Prime, and a huge deciding factor when consumers decide who to utilize. Amazon Prime only has 2,000 movies, TV shows, and original content. Again, Netflix current competition is Hulu and Amazon Prime. These are the main competitions. Hulu has 27 of the top 200 movies. Amazon has 73 of the top 200 movies. Netflix has 100 of the top 100 TV shows and 100 of the top 100 movies. Netflix current competition. What are Netflix and Hulu users watching? TV shows, movies? Around 90% of Netflix watchers are watching movies, and around the same amount, 90% of Hulu watchers are watching TV shows. The biggest problem Netflix has is piracy. As the CFO of Netflix says, piracy continues to be one of our biggest competitors and will be for the foreseeable future. That's my presentation on Netflix, and they're all the reasons why I've continued to invest in them. To date, my return is over 600% since 2003, and I will continue to dollar cost average until I see that the analysis shows me to cash in my chips and start analyzing another stock going through this same process.